Welcome to Leapcast. I'm your host, Dr. George James. Leap stands for leaders, entertainers, athletes, and performers. And I'm on a journey to connect with high achievers and highlight their unexamined human moments. Tune in to learn how these high-achieving Leap individuals were able to reach their greatest potential, face their most difficult challenges, and embrace the human moments that helped them along the way. If you want to get the episode highlights directly in your email, then head to theleapcast.com right now to subscribe. Today, I have an awesome guest joining us by the name of Brian BBSketch Bowens. He's an amazing person who does awesome work. And so first, let me just bring on Brian. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being a part of the podcast today. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. I appreciate you, invite me to come through and, kick it with you for a bit.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. First of all, let me just tell everybody, before we even get into what we call our Leap story, where we just find out a little bit more about you. Brian and I met over probably almost a year plus ago with a lot of civil unrest, racial injustice, things that were happening in our country. Brian, his wife, Latoya, and community really wanted to come together to do something, and he'll share more about this. But it was in one of those random times where I just wanted to say, I see what you're doing. I'm proud and happy of what you're doing. And he just shot right back. Hey, I see you too. Yeah. It's just been there. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that connection, because at that, he and his wife organized a peaceful gathering, brought the community together. And I was just thankful to be a part of that. And I got a little bit more involved than I thought I would. So we'll get into that. So like I said, this is Leapcast. We talk about lots of different things, and how I like to start off is really learning more about your Leap story. So, which means is tell us a little bit about you, what you do, your journey. How did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, man. So I am I'm a creative by trade, right? And so I've been, exercising my gift ever since I could remember. So, as being a creative, I would be drawing, making my own comic books, designing sneakers, all this, in kindergarten, first grade on up. So,
that early, really?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, I watched a lot of cartoons and studied comic books and stuff like that, and loved all different kinds of, styles of art, man. So, got a chance to, keep doing it. Had family members and friends just, gravitating around me as I drew and all that stuff. And that became like a little, it was like a getaway, you know what I'm saying? So, again, for me, I was more of an introvert, still am kind of, but, I would just focus on drawing, and that would help me feel comfortable, or, you know what I'm saying? Just help me to feel, just kind of get away if I felt anxious or scared or anything like that. I think the normal stuff that kids do. So,
but I mean, I love what you're saying already. I mean, you're saying that you use art and drawing as a way to just calm your nerves, or to be okay, to be at peace, right? Which sometimes we don't always think about. I mean, I don't think I really fully thought about. I mean, yes, I encourage people to draw, but as someone that young early, you sound like you figured that out pretty quickly, that helped you.
I think that's just what came natural. So I think there was no thinking to it. It was just doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm fortunate enough to have that, you know what I'm saying, as something to naturally fall on.
Yeah.
So without it actually hurting somebody. So, right. So that I'm blessed to be able to have that type of thing. So, but yeah, man.
How did it grow from there? So you were doing, early on, people were drawn to you. They liked what you were doing. How did it build or grow from that point?
Yeah. So I'm, I love sports. Unfortunately, back in the day, I had glasses, so that kind of was like a hindrance. So, I would try to compete and play, and back then I wasn't the size that I am now. So imagine a scrawny dude with glasses, just the stereotype in itself disqualifies you from, you know what I'm saying, even being a threat. So
look, I get it, man. I had glasses all growing up. I mean, I got LASIK now. I wish I had it earlier, or contacts even, because I remember like literally trying to put on a baseball helmet with glasses on, and it just did not work. Like
Yeah.
I had to choose, and
Yeah.
either way, it's a loss.
Yeah, yeah, man. Same thing, man. I remember competing and doing tryouts for junior high and trying to play basketball. I wasn't wearing goggles. Like I didn't want sports goggles. I'm like, I'm not gonna be Kareem Abdul Jabbar out there. So I'm up there trying
Harsh
to play
grad, you don't
basketball.
want the hard.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I'm up here trying to play basketball without my glasses on and just can't see what I'm doing. It's just like, you know what, this is a travesty, man.
Ball hitting you in the face. No, no.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, my thing was, again, like my art was the thing that made me cool, you know what I'm saying, to a certain extent, right? So like even growing up, people would pay me to, you know what I'm saying, draw on their boots or
Wow.
draw different signs for the different games and stuff like that, man. So that was my journey. That's like when people start paying you for your services, like I feel like that's a, you know what I'm saying, like that's a
Right. You're doing
little
something
hint.
right.
Yeah, it's like that's a hint. Yeah, man. So that's how it started for me. Like, I always loved to draw. I spent most of my time in the art room growing up at school. Went to an art school, Dellwood College of Art and Design.
Okay.
Did 2 years there. Learned how to do illustration, learned graphic design, photography, fine art, typography, all that stuff. So I'm trained in all those different arenas. And fast forward to now in the day and age where content is key.
Yeah.
When you pitch yourself to these different brands or you say, I can help you with this, now I have all these different things and foundations that I can, tap into. And so, that's where I'm at now. So,
I mean, that's awesome. And just hearing you, right? I know like you basically what and something I fully believe in, right? Like you have a gift, something that you were doing, you have a craft that you were building from an early age, and then you went and got some extra education on top of that, right? To even solidify it, and you've been practicing, and dealing with it. And so I'm wondering like when did you realize that like you were on the right path? I mean, sometimes we figure that out, sometimes we don't, or sometimes we still question. But I guess when did you start to figure out like, you know what, I think I'm doing the right thing?
yeah, yeah. I kind of had to be forced into it, right? Because I always loved people, right? And so when I got married in 2008, and so when you get married, it's like there's no time to, what I'm saying, figure things out anymore.
Right.
So like
Right.
for me, I love psychology. And so what I did was, I got a job at Family Services
Okay.
and I was a group home worker. So I would work in the different group homes with Family Services and then moved to Pennsylvania and there was Cancrest Services. And so with that, I moved up the ranks and, became a home supervisor,
Okay.
and then figured I'd study psychology online. And so as time went on, the demands of that job became, for my family and I at the time, it was too much. And so as I was, making a transition at that time, I had stopped drawing, but to kind of get away as a supervisor, I'd be at my desk just drawing on like scrap pieces of paper. I just kept doing it and doing it. And then as Instagram came out, I started to post these pictures on Instagram. And then from that, I started to gain traction and, different websites and blogs like sneaker blogs were like reposting it and sharing the stuff. And before you know it, I grow a following. And, now I see that there's a demand. There's other people like me that love sneakers and love art and, appreciate the culture that I can bring. So, and that's how God showed me that, you don't have to go this path of the psychology. Cause I was thinking like, what makes sense, right? Like, what is the thing that I can just, make money from and care for my family and make a good salary. And so as time went on, like psychology is not for me, even though design, it calls for a certain type of psychology. But for me, that wasn't my path, and and God, led me in the right direction. So that's
No,
what
I mean, I hear that, and that's awesome because, like, there's psychology is in everything, right? I mean, I've learned so much from others, especially in the creative arts and graphic arts, how certain colors and certain like things make people feel different things, right? And so there's a whole all of that. But like it sounds like, here you are, like you're working hard, you're doing all this stuff, and you don't have as much time to put into this craft that you've been developing, but you're still doing it, right? You're still like doing it on the side, and then you start to use social media, and now people start to pay attention to it. And I guess like I'm wondering, like, what was those moments that made you feel like, you know what, I am really doing something here, or I feel like this needs to be my full focus? How did you get there?
Yeah, because it was almost like it's stuff that I'm learning even now. Like when you have to figure out, there's times you'd be like, man, why do I feel like this, right? And you had to find the root of that thing. So for me, I had to go back. Like, why do I still want to draw? Like, why did I always want to design sneakers and have an eye for, coming up with different projects, like associating this with that and creating artwork out of it. So for me, that was always in me from a child. And now, when life hits, it's like you kind of settle for, you know what I'm saying? Like what kind of makes sense to you. And so that's where I went wrong, where this desire is coming back. And now, there's different things happening that show me like, yo, you still can do what you wanted to do. You still can tap into that gifting if you want to. And for me, series of events, whether it be affirmation through people I didn't even know online. And I think it's funny because sometimes we think about social media and we talk about how we, the different generations are concerned about likes and stuff like that, but that stuff can actually help you in regards to letting you know where you're at. Like, let the trolls tell you, like, yo, you're not that good, so you need to chill. You know what I'm saying? Like all those different
I love that already, man. That's gonna be one of the captions. Let the trolls tell you.
Yeah, man. Like that. I appreciate all that. Like you put anything online, you practice in public, and you just keep working at it. Like if somebody comments something that makes you feel some type of way, like examine that and be like, yo, maybe there's some truth to that, and maybe I need to step my game up. So that whole cycle of, for me, like seeing people liking stuff, getting reposts, right, from creditable sources, from different websites and blogs I looked up to, and then eventually getting paid by them, and then eventually having to meet deadlines and understanding the corporate world when it comes to that. And then also there was a point in time where I was trying to get I was trying to get a position at these companies. And then they would give me feedback and I would take that. My feelings might get hurt, but at the same time, like I would take that back and almost have that dark muse, almost like a Kobe, get mad at myself and be like, what can I do to, you know what I'm saying? Like have them think of me otherwise. So
you kept just drilling in, right? You just kept getting better at it, using feedback, even whether it be online, social media, the gigs that you were doing, you kept just working that to get better and better at what you do. And I guess like I'm wondering, like, what would you say was like one of your biggest accomplishments or successes that you've had so far?
Yeah. And it's weird because like even so I got a a contract with Reebok, and that was, I think, 2019. And growing up, like I watched, like I'm a big Sixers fan, and I grew up watching Allen Iverson, man. Like between Allen Iverson and Allen Iverson and Reggie Miller.
Okay.
I related more to Allen Iverson.
Right.
And so I got the
I always give Reggie a lot of props. I mean, throughout his career, but definitely like that, like what, 8-second window, and or 5-second window, he scored like 8 points or something crazy. That's just hands down just ridiculous.
Yeah, man. And I gravitated towards Reggie because I'm like, he fit more of the type of player that I would be. You know what I'm saying? Scrawny, can just shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was my connection to him. And I'm like, man, he's going head to head with all these dudes. So, but no, man. So Reebok, got the opportunity to work with them. Initially I pitched to them like I could create content because I used to be upset with Reebok. I'm like, again, like I learned that if you see an area to that needs improvement, then you should be able to come up with a solution, right? And so that's how I take on working with different brands. I'm like, if it fits something that I actually could see myself helping with, then I can pitch to them like, this is what I do and this is what I can do for you. And that same formula of happening, like if I'm not working on my craft, I have nothing to help you with. So I should just be quiet. But with Reebok, I pitched to them, I create content. I could do it for you guys. They called me back, Allison from Reebok. That opportunity was awesome. Worked with them for 6 months, I believe.
Wow.
At the end of that month, they flew me up to Reebok headquarters in Boston, and got to do a commercial with Allen Iverson and meet him and all that stuff, man. And even while it was happening, man, like it was surreal. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like, wow, this is the dude I looked up to, and now he's like hit me in my chest and telling me how much he loves the art and how he's blown away. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so like stuff like that, when it happens, it's almost like an out of body experience, meaning that you would think that this would be bigger than what it is, like while you're in it, but it's, you know what I'm saying? Like bigger than like what you expected. But then when you're in it, it's like, this is supposed to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like when you refine your craft and you keep working at what you do, like doors will open up for you. And that's what happened for me. So,
I mean, there's so many things you said that I just love, right? Like you being able to solve a problem. I mean, I've heard that so much, right, in business, right, is the ability to solve a problem that other people care about, right? And that whether that be something you create or something you build, an invention, whatever, it's solving a problem. And it says, like, so you were talking about how you learned how to solve problems that these businesses had, and in particular Reebok, and you pitched them, right? But you couldn't just pitch them if you wasn't working your craft, which is the other part, like you keep saying, and I love that you were doing the work to fine tune your skills, to be better at it. And it lined you up with being able to do this awesome opportunity to work with somebody that you've admired for forever. And so, like, AI, obviously he's, his work ethic, even though there's a whole joke around practice, but you still don't get there if you're not good and if you haven't put the time in, right? That's what people like sometimes miss. And so, like, I'm wondering for you, like, who did you talk to or what did you do, like, after that moment of, like, being there, filming the commercial, AI is there, he's loving your work, like, who did you talk to?
Yeah. So even like before, like, first of all, like my wife, you know what I'm saying? Like even just talking to her and because even I wasn't cool as a cucumber. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like nervous the whole time. I'm like, man, like I'm about to do this. I'm about to go into a corporate office. You know what I'm saying? And then on the inside, you start thinking about all the different things that could happen and opportunities that could open up. And then you start to get yourself anxious. And so like for me, my again, I have to use one of your terms, like my tribe is full of people that they've seen me from the very beginning, and they know my potential. They know, that I should have been working in my craft a long time ago. And so with my wife, who, you know what I'm saying, is my support, my number one support. Then I have my brothers. I have, a few people in my tribe that are freelancers that work in the industry. They see me at my worst and they see me, on the mountaintop. And so just continually stay in touch with those people, because I don't want to name names because everybody won't know them. But you know what I'm saying? Like just a circle of,
right?
Yeah. So a circle of, my tribe of people that, again, I can vent, be vulnerable, and, just seek advice from.
I think that's really great. And once again, just making me think about, when you mention the tribe, and just for those who are out there, something that I've shared before, that it's important for us to build our own tribe, right? Sometimes we feel like, it's automatic or it's just going to come, but it's not, right? We need to like be intentional, right? Who are those people that we're putting in our inner circle, in our inner squad, in our tribe? And that there's some key people I think that might be needed, right? It could be a romantic partner. It could be the person that gives you advice. It could be the person that just makes you laugh, right? It could be the person that, like, is your cheerleader or is just your number one supporter. Sometimes there might be overlap, but there's a lot of things that you can have. And, for me, I include a mentor, sometimes also a spiritual advisor, like people who you can have in that circle. And so hearing you say that is just really meaningful, because it's something that's important to me. And to hear that you have your tribe, and that even in these big moments, things that you've dreamed about for a long time, it doesn't mean that you're not nervous or anxious or not sure. I know like there's moments where lots of people will say like, I know that I'm qualified or skilled for this, but sometimes I still question, do I belong here, or did I earn this or deserve it? And to have people in your tribe that you can go to is just really important. And so that's great that you had this moment and you're sharing it with your wife, your brothers, friends, the people in your tribe. And has that shifted? I remember seeing that picture of you and AI, right, on your website, and it's just a cool picture, just the feeling of it. And I'm wondering, like, what did you walk away from that experience with? Like, what did you say to yourself after that Reebok experience?
Yeah. I would say just being in, so even before that, like there was a time period where, just like you said, there was that question of kind of feeling inadequate or feeling like fraudulent to a certain extent. Like, man, and I don't mean this in a arrogant way, right? It took for me to have to go to a public event. I never like going to public events or live events, and I knew that that was something that I needed to be a part of, be seen and meet people, shake hands, all that stuff. But I used to get intimidated by the people who mentored me, right? People who I reached out to that used to work for Jordan Brand or other artists that got big contracts, right? And I used to kind of feel beneath them or lower than, right? Or less than. And it took this one time that I'll never forget where I'm on my way to this event and I'm in the car and I have my family with me. And, I'm just talking to God. I'm like, God, I feel nervous. Help me.
Yeah.
And so he basically just let me know, like, you know what I'm saying? Those are your colleagues, right? I would not surround you around this type of, again, greatness or whatever. Like, if your gifting had, you know what I'm saying? Like, if your gifting had make room, and that's why that took something supernatural and it just flipped the switch where it's like I belong to be here too. And so, you know what I'm saying? And in that moment with AI, right? And in the pictures, like I wish there was video of it, but when I showed him the picture, like he was so excited, he just kept hitting me in my chest and hit me in my chest. And granted, he has these big mitts where,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Go
like,
feel it.
yeah, he just kept hitting me. But in the pictures, just like 3 or 4 pictures of like at first it was cool. The third picture, I'm like, okay, it's enough. The fourth one, I'm like trying to get away because I'm like, man, like, and he just felt like that type of uncle that,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's just overbearing but proud. And that's what it felt like. And I'm like, man, this dude who understands what it's like to work at your craft day in and day out can, you know what I'm saying, celebrate this moment. I need to celebrate it too. You know what I'm saying? And so I had to learn how to slow down and be like, yo, that really just happened. You know what I'm saying? So
I think I think what you said just really hits in so many ways, right? Like even in my profession, right? Like I've had the opportunity to be a professor, right, and to teach people who want to become a therapist, right? But as soon as they graduate, they are our colleagues, right? Like, right, they're a therapist just like I'm a therapist, right? It don't matter how many years you got in because they might have other things that they are doing that might be unique or innovative that I might not have as well, right? Or people that I might look up to. And so to be able to have in your mind that switch where we say, I'm a colleague, that means like I stand on the same place you stand, right? Like I belong just like you belong. It's not easy to make that change, but I hear how you were able to do that, and then to have somebody like just somebody you respect just say, I see you, big you up, like say, like even in the hits on the chest, it's just saying like you did that, like this is dope, this is great. And after a while it does kind of hurt. I'm like, okay, I get the point, right? I get the point. But like sometimes we gotta overemphasize the point so people get it. And like I can only imagine like what that might have felt for AI. And maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't, that he was able to communicate to you that, dude, you're doing something great, and that you were able to accept that.
And even like prior to that meeting, like I did some research on him. Like, what do I, I know I'm going to meet him. Let me go above and beyond this assignment that they gave me. So I did some research, and a lot of his talk was, he was worried that people would forget about what he's done, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that he mentioned was like how he actually could dunk, but nobody really paid attention to that. And so what I decided to do was to highlight that very thing. Like there was a time where he dunked on somebody in his rookie year, and I was like, look, let me draw that, because he was a beast. You know what I'm saying? Like he was a workhorse. And so that having that unction to go above and beyond and help him see like, nah, we're not going to forget about you, and be able to embody that. Because for me, it's like sometimes you feel, we can feel like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to treat him like I would want somebody to treat me. So let me share that. And then it's genuine. Like it's not hard for me to, you know what I'm saying, make it a even exchange. Like, bro, I appreciate you. Here's a product of my, here's a sign of my appreciation. And so like, even from that, like that's what helps me to be even more confident in everything that I do. Like just realizing like, yo, everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through stuff. They're just better at hiding it more than we are. And so like, that's what helps me to, well, that's how I've been trained to be able to move and be in the circles that I'm in now. Like just being who I am and being unapologetic about it.
That's good, as you should be. I mean, because your work is just awesome, and I love it. And so there's a couple of different things I'm going to get to. But before I get there, I'm also curious with everything you shared, right? From like working your craft, from encouragement through social media, to like being able to go above and beyond, like you just said, with AI to show, and to bring that out through art. What I love about art is that this is something that's in your mind that you are able then to produce. I mean, like there's lots of different ways people do that, whether fashion or some other ways, but art is like, this is something that's in my head that I'm able to take out. I can't do that, not with art, in other ways, right? I gotta get somebody else. So I'm wondering, even in all that you've done in building your craft, what would you say was like a really tough moment or a low moment or challenging moment that you had to go through?
That very thing, right? Getting a vision beforehand of what was to come and the success that would come, but not really having it happen as fast as I would want it to, right?
So happens as fast as we want.
Yeah. So during that time period where the contracts weren't coming in as consistent, and so there's a time period of trying to work a regular job, taking care of a household, hearing advice from close friends and family who don't understand the journey, but yet still holding on to, what was in me, you know what I'm saying? Knowing that what was to come. And so that was a very hard time period where it's just like, having people doubt you or have people not fully understand when you really want them to understand. And so, but that was something that was on the side of me where I was like, I know what I know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know the potential, I know what's in me, but I don't know. I know what the end result is going to be. I just don't know how. So that time period of still, being the leader to my wife, and showing her like we're gonna be good, like we're going to be good, we're going to be good,
right.
But not having any evidence to back that up is like every once in a while, you know what I'm saying? Trusting that process, and then kind of blocking out the negative, the negative counsel, the counsel that was not relevant, you know what I'm saying? And so that was a hard time. And even from times now, it's hard because you want people to understand, but everybody's not meant to understand. Like even now, like even when we have an art gallery and creative space, there's people who don't understand that, you know what I'm saying? And it's sad because like we're doing great, you know what I'm saying? But there's folks who will be in here and see it and not fully understand what the vision is. And those people get left behind, and it's sad for them. But, it's character building stuff.
I mean, I appreciate everything you said. I mean, it's interesting, like, like even when you just, earlier talked about, Kobe, and a lot of times people talk about Kobe, especially about his work ethic, right? The stuff you didn't see, right? Like the stuff that you don't know, like how he might have handled or dealt with some of that stuff. And to your point, the time when you have this vision for yourself, when you believe something, you see it, you almost, it's real, but right now it just doesn't feel like it. Mm-hmm. And to try to calm down the people around you, or support the people around you as well as yourself, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming, and the ability to just keep going, keep pushing, keep working, keep shooting or keep drawing or keep whatever it is till you get there, and you get a little gig here or you get a little opportunity there, and then you get a bigger opportunity. It just sounds like I could hear that momentum for you where it starts to build. At least that's been my experience, and maybe I'm telling my experience for you where I felt like that way too. There are times where the momentum just started to build, but there were definitely some times all I had was promise and no evidence.
Man.
So it's just really great to hear that, in the way that you've been able to do that, and how you've had, once again, your tribe, the support network. So I'm curious, because of the things that connected the two of us, and I know that might go into some other things. You and your family decided to put on a peaceful protest to share your art. I guess just tell me some of the inspiration about like how your art moved into like social justice and impacting people in the way that you did.
Yeah, man. So first, like, the idea to want to do something in, I would say, in direct response to everything that was going on around us, being social injustice, things being broadcasted. That was my wife's idea. She was like, she was very hurt, as all of us were. But I think some people like myself will see it and then feel like that's just what's gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, we live in a fallen world. And so this stuff will probably just keep happening and there's going to be no resolution.
Yeah.
And so then there's people like my wife who are so, it affects them so much that they can't just sit back and not do anything or not try. Right. And so my wife had the idea. She brought it to, she brought it up to me as far as like wanting to do a vigil, like a peaceful vigil.
Basically.
Yeah. So she brought it up and she was like, she was like, I feel like we should do something. I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? That's fine. And at that time, the way my heart was, and I play around and say this, I had like a Grinch heart, you know what I'm saying? Meaning that I didn't really trust what was in people, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, and then even living in a predominantly white neighborhood, yeah. I'm like, these people, they're not going to come out to this, right? Nobody's going to respond. And so wife came up with the idea, was happened to look on Facebook, which she never does, and saw that, some students in Jenkintown were trying to do something. Like they were trying to have a vigil in Town Square. And so, so we saw that they were doing it and we were like, you know what? So let's let them do that. But then come to find out that they actually needed help. And then my wife reached out, my son reached out, and we came alongside with them and partnered with them. There were some issues where, some of their parents didn't agree with what they were doing. So that encouraged us even more to come alongside and help them set up and be a part of it. And so, my wife asked me to speak at the vigil. And so like, even just sitting back, I'm like, how do you talk, how do you share about something? Like, how do you talk about something like this, like to a people who are not going to understand? Like, and when I say a people, like a culture or a race, right? That aren't going to understand the struggle that we're going through, or even might not even care to understand what it's like to be, Black in America or any other minority, right?
Yeah.
So, so as I'm doing this, and just like with anything else, like when I feel like, I don't know what to do, like I just pray. And so I was, I prayed about it. I'm like, God, like help me to have the words to be able to speak. I don't know what to speak. And so the idea came to, again, like I was nervous about the whole idea, but I was like, I still can do it. I know I can speak in front of a bunch of people. And so like for me, like as being inclined to be an introvert, right? if there's something like if there's a piece of artwork or if I have to present something to a client, then I'm no longer nervous because the attention is off of me. It's on the solution, it's on the artwork. And so I got the idea to do that in this situation. And then I did some studying about the United States of America and what was the motto, what was the whole point of the United States of America. Because to me, United States, united people coming together, you know, like that's like all types of people should be coming together. If this is our motto, then let's get back to that, right? Let's remind us of like, remember we said that this is this and this is the principles that were, you know, America's founded on. Let's get back to this, right? And then let's discuss like what is the difference between right and wrong. Like if you take out the skin color thing, like is it actually right to kill somebody? Like is it right to, you know what I'm saying, like assume something about somebody and then, you know, choose to kill them? So there's a whole bunch that goes into that, but long story short, like just researching the origin of the United States of America, the idea of all types of people, all types of backgrounds and races coming together in agreement with morals and values, right? What's right and what's wrong. That's, you know, I was able to come up with an original painting and do a painting the night before. It was probably like a couple nights before, but I think it was just one night. And
Wow.
you know,
Do you usually work that quick?
yeah. So in the
Wow.
so in the business that I work in, man, like based around sports outcomes and all that stuff, man, like the Bleacher Report or ESPN will hit me up and say, we need a piece of artwork by this day. Can you do it? And back then I had no choice, right? Because I'm like, I need to make, you know, I need to keep proving myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I had to keep proving myself and say yes and like meet the deadlines, even though it's unreasonable. Now it became, you know, just normal to be able to do quick turnarounds. So same thing with this, like the assignment, understanding the assignment, doing the research, and then executing. And so I was able to do that with the painting, and I didn't think anything of it. All I did was create a painting so that I can use that almost like a PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
So don't be looking at me, look at the art, like look at the art, and it's going to help me to be able to have something to talk about and give you a visual. But as I brought this piece of artwork out, and as I brought the artwork out to Town Square from my office, I walked it out and there were a whole bunch of people out there in the square, and I could just hear them hear like little chatters like, oh wow, that's beautiful. Da-da-da. So but I'm in a tunnel because I'm like, I'm nervous and I just want to get back to my office. I'm just going to set up this painting.
Say my few words.
Yeah, right. right. So I'm trying to just leave the painting here and go back to my office and pray some more so I can be ready, you know what I'm saying, to come back out and talk to y'all. So and then that's when I saw you on Instagram. I forgot what I was doing. And then somehow you commented or something like that, and then you said you were going to be there, and I'm like, oh man, I'm calling you to speak.
I'm like, no, he's not. He ain't gonna call me. All I was trying to do was like, dude, I see you, go work, right? Me and my family gonna come through. That's all. I was just trying to support. Then you say, I'm gonna call on you. I'm like, he ain't gonna call on me. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, man. So and that's why I'm like, man, I looked up your profile and it was like, man, he does a great job with explaining things and breaking it down, but I didn't know you were going to do it like the way that you did. And so you came up, man, and after I spoke, which even going back a little bit further, after I came back down from my office and saw the amount of people that all came out after I had already went into my office and came back, I could have cried even right then and there, like at the amount of people, the multitude of people that were surrounding that square. And it wasn't just black people, like it was probably like 95% white.
The United it was 90 people, right? And I think from what even from what you're saying, like the thought of like coming from a place of man, this ain't gonna work, to I don't really feel like talking in front of people because it makes me feel a certain way, but you push through all of those negative thoughts, those self-talk that we all have in any situation, to believe in what your wife was sharing, to believe in what you could share, to say, you know what, I'm gonna show up. And you push through all those things, and from my experience, it was amazing. It was amazing of what the community could do. It was amazing about unity. It was amazing around the impact, and I could only imagine what that meant for you and your family.
Yeah, yeah. It was life changing, really. Like, it was really life changing. Just to see that support. And then after fact, like, even for us, it was just like COVID was still there, but at the same time, it's just like, you know what you gonna do? Like, it's so many people just gravitating towards it, even though they had masks on, but it was like, I'm sure they weren't all N95s and all
Right.
that. Like, so so people were gravitating towards and talking, and it was like emotions were high. We were hugging and stuff, and like that changed my heart, right? That, like, personally, like, the way that I felt towards, well, I'm gonna put it like this: the hope that I had after that,
Yeah.
that increased. I gave, people that I wouldn't give a chance, more leeway. I let more people in versus like blocking them out and kind of being like the angry black man.
Yeah.
And so, like, we had been in the neighborhood since 2007, and I never really gave people a chance. I just, like, I'm here for my kids, you know what I'm saying? Just tell me what I need to know and I'm out. And so, but after that,
I think that's powerful what you're saying about how you doing something to acknowledge the pain that your wife was feeling, and even the pain that you were feeling, and that so many others, but there was still some pain that you felt just to people in general, and in seeing people show up and seeing people who were committed and were willing to stand alongside you and your family, how that like impacted you, right, in a positive way, to have more hope, to be inspired even by folks, that your work to inspire others ended up inspiring you. I think like that's really interesting, of like when we give of ourselves, when we commit to things, when we try, how there is also an impact on us, and we don't always realize that. Like, you could give time or money to somebody, but you don't realize it's also impacting you in your service. And that's just really what I hear from what you're saying.
yeah, yep, exactly, man.
Well, we got a couple of things that I like to ask before like we wrap up, because there's so much more that I want to hear, and I know that's there. But and I think you're already saying some of this, but I'm wondering, is there any particular things that you're working on right now? I mean, you mentioned about your creative space. I know there's also like something that came out of that gathering. So what would you say are some things that you're working on like right now?
Yeah. And so, from even that whole story, even that, what came out of that, was a documentary, about the process, right? About how, that that event changed, my life. It changed others. It brought awareness to other people, even to the point where after that gathering, I was approached by, a local, chiropractor and his wife, and they were looking for a mural to put on the side of their building that was in Jenkintown. And so they wanted me to put my artwork that I created from that original painting onto a 30-foot wall. And
I got the dog tag
oh,
for
nice.
that.
Yeah, man, that thing, man. And so, even the response like that, right? Like, everybody loved that artwork and that symbol. They requested it to be put on lawn signs, stickers, dog tags, T-shirts,
I see it
everything.
everywhere.
Yeah. So stuff like that, where I thought one thing, right? And then the result of it getting this big, to the point where I'm doing a 30-foot mural. People are desiring this piece of artwork. And, again, like, it's people are supporting my craft, and I'm supporting them with how they want to express, their love and their care, with my art. Like that I have no words for that.
I mean, that sounds like the end of not the end, but like part of the dream, right? When you talk
Yeah,
about from kindergarten and early on, comic books and drawing, all the way to the place where your art becomes inspirational. Your art becomes something that people identify with and desire, and changes a community. and even more, right? Especially now with the documentary and film. I mean, I think that's awesome. And so I'm curious, how did it also add to like you getting a space, and what is like your hope and all of that?
Yeah. And so even now, like it, again, it changed my heart again, where I was more focused on my family, right?
Yeah.
But now I have a desire to be able to, just seeing the difference that my craft could make. And once people started to learn about what I did, they were inspired, right? Not only by the artwork, that specific artwork, but everything else that I was doing behind the scenes that I didn't really share with my whole community. And so now it's like, seeing younger, the younger generation, they look up to, what I do. That some of them knew about me, but now their parents know. And
Mhm.
now it's like, how do we give back to our community and teach, and share the culture that we have to offer, right?
Yeah.
As well as, teaching them how to do what I do. Right now, I have a heart to do that versus like being so focused on
Now I don't
my.
got time for you.
Yeah,
Right.
man. Like I was like, I'm trying to build something for me and
Right.
mine.
Right. Right.
So, but now it's my I don't have, my heart is not like that. So now I have a desire to, share, bring people into my space, my creative space, let them know what I do. Also give them the opportunity to, get some work from me, but also too, I want to be also, I want to give classes. I want to be able to
Yeah.
interact with people more often. And that wasn't in me before, you know what I'm saying? Like I said before, like just that introvertness that comes from, at the root, it's like fear, right? I don't want somebody to hurt me. I don't want somebody to, reject me, right? But now it's like I don't have a choice. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a problem with me, then that's your problem. And
Right.
and I
That's on you.
know, yeah. So
And I really appreciate how you're saying so many ways that your heart just kept changing,
yeah,
right? That and the more your heart changed, the more you gave, and the more you did, the more you allowed your craft and your skills and your family to be out there, and it changed your heart, and now you're doing more for so many people.
yeah.
I mean, I love it, and I'm inspired by it, and like even the fact of you calling me up that day was inspirational not only to me but to my kids, right? Like Dad, like why are you being called up there, right? Like this
Oh,
randomness of like what felt like random, but also was a connection
yeah,
that I appreciate, and I appreciate because your heart was open for that. You're willing to let some stranger share part of that moment with you that was also impactful for my family and I. And so, last two questions I want to ask you is, what does mental wellness mean to you?
yeah. Nice. Man, that is a loaded question.
It is.
Uh, yeah, man. Yeah, mental wellness, man. The first acknowledging that there's a thing is the first step, right? Because even for me, like the mental aspect of everything, if I stayed in my head with the negative thoughts and negative things and took it on as truth or took it on as reality, that my actions and my behaviors
Yeah.
would, they would follow that thinking, right? And so I feel like there's a lot of folks who, we allow the mental health or our mental I guess just our state,
Yeah.
our mental state, to be flawed when there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And our beliefs are usually formed through things that aren't necessarily true. And if we're not constantly challenging those different beliefs and seeing where we're at, it could damage us. It could hold us back. It could, you know what I'm saying, stop us from even accomplishing great things.
Yeah.
And so I think all of us have those times where you feel like something isn't right, and you need a tribe to kind of help you process things that are just inside of you, and just need to be like, listen, I'm dealing with this. This is how I feel. I don't like it. So yeah, man.
And I could totally hear that. And even what I really appreciate from what you've shared so far is how you just didn't give up. You had moments where you could have said, like, I don't know, I don't belong here, I can't do this, or somebody else should be doing it. But you didn't let that stop you at any point. Probably because you had your tribe who were supporting you and encouraging you and allowing you to know that you can do it. And now, your art continues to grow, your message continues to grow, which is just really great. Last question. what mental wellness advice would you give to your younger self? And that could be as younger as yesterday or way back.
Hmm, man, I would say don't be afraid to talk to people or share, because I mean I think that's a hard question, because too, like when you're younger, you I think maybe fear is has more of an impact on you
Mm,
than you realize. So I can only speak for me, but I would say for me, like fear had more of an effect on me, to the point where just talking to people or sharing with people or looking for advice, that was something I struggled with, even to the point where and a lot of my friends too, like I had to combat different ticks, right?
okay.
Meaning that, like, if I felt nervous or afraid of how people would perceive me, I would, there would be little things like I'll start shaking, or like trying to talk to people and my lips start quick, like weird stuff like that, you have to be able to keep talking about and keep, exposing it to a certain extent. Like even from my wife, I would share with her, because she's, one of my, people that's closest to me. And I'll be like, babe, when I'm around people, I feel like this, or
Mm,
I feel like I'm different than everybody else, or I feel
yeah,
like I'm, might be considered weird, right?
mhm,
And those are all things that may have some truth to it, because we're all different, but at the same time, that doesn't make you that negative thing or that extreme thing.
yeah.
And so a lot of times, like those lies that come in and just, they mess you up even more, and they're rooted in fear. Um, those are the things that need to be, attacked head on.
Yeah.
And so,
I really love that, because that's something that I encourage people in general to do. I try to do myself and encourage my families, that there are lies that sometimes we believe, and we start believing them from an early age.
yep,
And we do need to attack them. We do need to really mentally fight against it, to not let it become something that we think is true. And
yep.
because if we believe those things are true, our gift, our talents, our abilities, our craft might not really be able to flourish. And I've really seen you be able to do that. All right, this is my bonus question. As this last wrapping up, uh, if this person was to say, "Can you draw me something about me or something I've done?" Who would you want that to be? Like, who is somebody you would love to do some work for, or be commissioned to do a project for?
I would say LeBron, man.
Okay.
I would say LeBron James, because I
That's my fake
watched.
cousin, as my kids say, because
Huh?
of our last name.
Oh no! Oh yeah. Oh man. Well, make that connection, man. But no. So yeah, man. So LeBron, I had the, not only do I think we share the same feeling. Like I feel like with sports, it's a great thing. It's a competitive thing, but at the same time, like there's a deeper
Yeah.
illustration in sports, right? It shows you that, human beings, if you stay consistent, you work, you can do things that you never thought you could achieve, right? You could jump higher, you can do all these different things within sports that if you put in the work, you're going to see results.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like when you have a favorite player, you're more invested in that player from the time that they come up from, again, like from high school and on up to their retirement, and how they become, family, well, for me, LeBron is like a family man now.
Mm,
So for me, I had the privilege of watching him grow up, and I paid attention. I saw him as a high schooler. I saw him, when he did interviews, he couldn't speak well, and you know what I'm saying, like the fact that his father wasn't around, like he had to, push through that, right? And then, a rookie. I remember watching his first rookie game, and he was like, he killed it. But then when he left Cleveland and had to go through that phase of caring what people thought and going to Miami, you could see it. Like I could see it. I'm like, man, this dude is going through it, but he's trying to put on this persona, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a star, but he cares, but he don't care. But you know what I'm saying? So you can see all those different things, and they're being analyzed with every single move. But now you see him now where he's matured to the point where now he's a leader. I still remember, like, when, he went to Miami, and like the camera's on him, he's like doing the side eye and like reading his body language. I'm like, dang, this dude is great at what he does, but he's like, it's something off. Like he doesn't have the confidence that he should have for whatever reason. So like those different things where when I, again, if somebody were to commission me for a custom piece, like a family portrait, I do research on people, their family. Like I like looking up symbolisms, like stuff like that, where if you get like a custom piece from me, there's going to be different details in that piece that you probably won't catch until years on down the line, when you're like laying up on the couch somewhere and you're like, oh man, he actually put that in there. So
right. How do you know that?
Yeah. So stuff like that, like for somebody like LeBron James, like I feel like that would be, that would be my way of giving back to him for the times where he inspired me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like 38 and I still feel like LeBron on the court. Like I still can, you know what I'm saying, shoot. I might not be able to do the things he can do, but like when I play with my son, I'm like, I still got LeBron's strength. Like I still, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
smack the ball out. I got that.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. And I could hear like the detail, the attention, the research that you put into it, and your craft and your passion to highlight like these moments and aspects of people, which is, interesting. Like, this podcast, right, is really about highlighting human moments, right, as people, right, and high achiever like yourself and all that you've done. And so I really appreciate you've been willing to be a part of Leapcast, where we are just examining these parts of people's lives that sometimes we don't always talk about, these human moments. And Brian BBSketch Bowens, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of Leapcast. And I look forward to when you are commissioned with LeBron to do a piece and awesome work that you'll be doing in the future. So thanks for joining.
I appreciate you, man.
Wow. What an incredible ride we just went on with another great member of the Leapcast community. I appreciate you listening and hope you got some tangible value from the episode. Please let us know what you think by leaving a comment, rating, and review. As always, please don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. This is Dr. George James, and I'll see you next time.